So guys, my main point for the Atlanta Dream is that they are confusing in a good way. let me explain let me explain what I mean here. So when I think about the Atlanta Dream, I think of a team that to start the first half of the year, they looked terrible. This is a team that was not good, right? Also, Ice, I want to acknowledge I did see your comment about the mascots. I will try to do that pretty soon. I will try to do a deep dive of that pretty soon. Hopefully, hopefully I'll try to do that pretty soon. But it is still on my radar. It still is on my radar. Okay, so back to this Atlanta Dream team. This is a team that is confusing to me because they were trying to trash at the early part of the season. They were not very good. I think they're a team that has pieces, but they weren't figuring out a way to sort of put it all together and get wins, right? And then you also have, in my opinion, your best player, which is Ryan Howard, dealing with injury. And so that was a huge thing that actually really, really hurt them and their ability to play really well in the first half of the season, pre-Olympic. And post-Olympics, I am like, wow, this this Atlanta Dream team is good. and that's why I'm like, wow, it's a little confusing. like this, because guys, the Atlanta Dream is a squad that lost a bunch of games to end out the Olympic break, right? This team lost 7 games straight before the Olympic break. 7 games straight. Yes, absolutely. They had their best player out in Ryan Howard, right? But I just felt like the way that they played sometimes made no sense to me. Some of the rotations that was in, I was just like, okay, I don't really get it. And now I feel like they're in a good spot. Now I feel like this team is in a really, really good spot. And let me tell you why. The reason why is because, number one, Ryan Howard's back. And Ryan Howard is like the best thing that ever happened to Atlanta. She's straight up baller. You also have Jordan Canada, who is, continuing to, yes, not necessarily always shoot that efficiently, but she's being that sort of point guard that you need her to be. She's being the point guard you need her to be. Yeah, she may not score the best, but she's absolutely passing that ball. She's getting players involved. She's making stuff happen. You have Naz Hillman, who is, in my opinion, just continuing to be very, very impactful. Yes, she's not going to score a lot of points for you. She's not. But she's going to do all the little things that's necessary to sort of make stuff happen. Whether that's just rebounding, whether that's just not doing anything stupid. Like she can absolutely do that for you. Also, you got freaking Tina Charles, man, on your team, and Tina Charles, I think has been good, pretty good this entire season. I think she showed people that she absolutely still deserves a spot in the WNBA. She has been doing well in terms of rebounding, points per game, all that good stuff. And when you have one of the best young talents right now, one of the best young talents in Ryan Howard, healthy, you have one of the OGs of the basketball game, of the game of women's basketball in Tina Charles, still balling. You have good decisions made by the coaching staff, and you have a pretty good support staff in terms of Alicia Gray and Jordan Canada and Naz Hillman and Cheyenne Parker Tyus, and you have a recipe for a good squad. Now, guys, the thing is, the reason why I said earlier how in the first half of the season, Atlanta confused me. Some of the rotations that they had and some of the decisions that they were making from a coaching standpoint, I was just like, what? I don't get it. This makes no sense. What are you doing? And it was because of what they were doing from the point guard perspective. There was an experiment that started last year with Haley Jones being the point guard for this team. To me, it didn't work last year. They should have moved on. They did not. We saw, for the most part, in the first half of the year, Haley Jones was the sort of starting point guard for this, right? She was the player who was starting for this team at the point guard position. And finally, the team has decided to change that. They have finally decided to bench Haley Jones and not have her start as the point guard. Now, this has nothing to do with Haley Jones. I think this team has set up Haley Jones for not being successful, in my opinion. Like I don't think it ever made any sense to try to make Haley Jones the point guard. Like, she wasn't a point guard coming into it. The idea, like, Haley Jones is a small forward. That's what she is. She's basically a small forward. And the idea of having her play that role, a role that she's not natural at, a role that has always looked awkward for her last year and this year, it didn't help the team. It didn't. It did not help the team. This team, the reason why they would look silly at times on the court is because you had a point guard who was not a point guard trying to play the role. She had trouble sometimes dealing with better defensive guards against her. She is she's a player who is good, but the position that she has to play in makes her look terrible. Like, she doesn't look like a good player a lot of times because she's in a bad position. And I am happy that this experiment looks like it's over. It looks like this experiment is over for Haley Jones, and I love this. I think this is great for Haley Jones as a player. I don't think she'll ever say this, but they set her up for failure, in my opinion. The reason why is because Haley Jones can play. She can play. But not as a point guard, not as your starting point guard. And so that's the thing right there. I think now that Jordan Canada is back, now that she's healthy, she's in the starting lineup for the Atlanta Dream, and you see they're playing better. You see this team is playing better now. My hope is that ultimately the Atlanta Dream makes some changes sort of in the offseason to really sort of recalibrate their squad and decide what they want their identity to be and sort of make decisions from there. I think the fact that Letitia Amihere is a player who actually does have a lot to offer. She barely ever plays. Haley has been playing out of position ever since she's been with the Atlanta Dream. Not that she would say it, but she has been. You have a player like a Cheyenne Parker-Tyus who is really, really good, but her and Tina Charles do not mix. They don't work together. They don't work together. So yes, this team is better, but this team is confusing in that I don't know what the identity is of this team. I don't know what the goals are for this team. I'm not even sure if the coaching staff will still be here next year. It's so much up in the air. And so I actually think it's okay that this team decided to not make any changes, because it's sort of like, why? You're just sort of in this limbo. Yes, you're better. Yes, you're playing better, since we're back now, mainly because of health. But there's just so many miscues and missteps, I feel it, that's sort of hindering this team from actually doing well in the WNBA consistently, I should. So that's sort of my thoughts right there. I'm very curious to hear what you all have to say about that. I'm very much interested. Bima says Haley was so good at Stanford. Yes, and that's the thing. And I feel bad for Haley, because I'm just like, man, Haley's really good. Like oh my goodness. If Haley Jones was on the Chicago Sky, I'd be so excited. I would be so excited because she's really good. She's a really good player. She can score. She can make good decisions on the floor. She has game, but If you put her on the wrong position consistently, she looks awkward. She looks confused. She makes mistakes, and then she doesn't look good. But she's really good, guys. Um, I I just yeah, I just don't get it. So but yeah, I really like Haley, and I I want to see the Stanford Haley back. Like I really do. I really do. I really do.